networking issues are. It was good in testing. It lasted for about an hour without the audio. That's exceptionally annoying. I'm really sorry. This is my first time streaming. That's the type of thing you can't find in debugging. But I'll look more into how to resolve those networking issues. But in the meantime, let's go back to what I've done over R in case I missed it. First, I looked at load the tidyverse, which has ggplot2 and dplyr, and reader, and use reader to read the CSV, which loaded 1.3 million data points in about a couple seconds because it's very, very, very fast. I tried to do a Q plot, which is a quick plot in ggplot2. I did that pretty quickly. It still could be pretty up a little bit, maybe cleaned up a little bit, maybe try and filtering it to different perspectives, and now we'll do a more formal ggplot to make sure this prints a little easier, so to speak. Exilium11 asks, what would be your go-to resource to fast learn R coming from Python? In my opinion, the best resource would be to look at the tidyverse documentation. Like, look in dplyr. For most of the tidyverse packages, there's a vignette, which tells gives a good overview on how the practices are. And my general approach is do it more projects. I'm not a big fan of data science MOOCs. But that's just my approach and way of learning. All right, so back to the original ggplot. Try that again to show what's going on. It's collecting histogram of the 1.3 million values. It counted a million there. Not helpful. Good thing about ggplot is you can scale pretty easily. So you got a lot scale x. Like different types of scaling for x. What we want is log 10. And rerun that. And then it did a smart amount of breaks. I actually don't like the way the breaks went. Let me go to what I want. I can manually add. Do that. We can pass the list of breaks you can do. Run that. And it'll automatically show those breaks on the chart. There we go. That makes a little more sense. I don't like this y-axis, so I'm going to import another package, which is also created by the same people as tidyverse. Scales. In general, when doing ggplot2, I always use scales. Scales, I'm going to see the y uses scientific notation. That is ugly. So I do want, it's pretty option. I do want to scale continuous, but the labels, which is how the data is formatted, that's going to be a comma. Show what that happens here. All right, I lost half my viewers after fixing my audio, so that's great. And look, now we have better axes, which show the full numbers without scientific notation. That's much prettier. But you can see it's like so kind of skewed. What might be helpful is calculating like how many only have submission. Do that. We can do a little bit of algebra using dplyr. Rather filter. So filter count. Filter is a dplyr verb, which is filtering pretty quickly, especially when you consider how filters are done, like on Python. Filter number of submissions equals 1, and count the number of rows at the deck. There's about 757,000 out of 1.3 million. Then, actually, since since we are using program, we can calculate that. That's 57%. 58% rather, or only have one comment. I think it's actually more applicable to modern Reddit data too. So going back to this data visualization, people ask how I make it pretty. There's isn't actually a very single step I do to make it pretty. ggplot2 has a bunch of embedded themes. Very many amount of themes. That's one popular one is BW. Let's see how that looks. Not too shabby. It's good if you are printing to like an academic paper, since it's very minimal on like text and ink as opposed to the default ggplot2. Theme dark. That's kind of the opposite. Normally, you want to do like data visualization, but if you do like coloring, then it can be pretty pretty. Well, actually, let's give coloring a try. So what we can do like sort of like a gradient rainbow, so to speak. First, let me go load back the original one. All right, we've got. So this is the original. Now we can go add a color aesthetic. And what I want to do is scale the color, so that's a gradient from left to right. Do that scale on num submissions. That, and then since there's a lot of values, you should just do a gradient by default, or not. This might not work. Maybe for histogram you can't do explicit colors. That doesn't. Okay, maybe in addition to doing that, I can do scale color gradient. What happens? No. Try scale. The way ggplot2 is infers variables. Let's try see if we can scale on that count. Oh, that technically works. You don't want to do scale color, you want to scale fill. Nope. Right. There you go. Got like a mini gradient. Not too shabby. And this count's kind of redundant, so we can get rid of that. Use guide F. So that's minimal. And then, although this like blue black gradient is the ggplot2 default, I strongly dislike that. And then but the option we can do is the color brewer, which is I guess I already had that question before and I asked that. Color brewer is when a lot of palettes you see are color brewer palettes that typically work together. And one of the good ones like we got sequential palettes, got diverging palettes, and one of them is spectral. We'll get to that later. So let's try using some of these palettes. To do that, we have to do scale field brewer. It works natively with ggplot2. So palette equals blues. The blues palette is a green, white, blue the white. Wait, what? What the hell? That's not right. Continuous value. Well, This can't be right. Just now's time for. Huh? A distiller. That's how about that. The distiller use distiller rate with continuous data. This data is indeed continuous. Let's. And it's definitely white to blue. Works there too. We tried different scale. DRGN, which is purple, red to green. Interesting. Kind of skipped red though. Then try Poo-Boo, which is I think that's purple. Something like that. And diverging, it's kind diverging you would not typically use for this data since it's not doing like contrast, but it's good for like visualizations doing positives and negatives. Kind of the same, but let's going around spectral. One I want to cover for like pretty data visualization. Like that. Although this isn't a really good example of. You know what? Let's just remove it once completely. To do that, we can do a filter at the runtime when creating a chart. And on that. There you go. So it's getting run white. Just completely ignoring one. Got using special palettes, a little pretty rainbow. I've seen this palette a lot on Data is Beautiful Reddit, on the Data is Beautiful subreddit submissions, and that's kind of how that works. Go back to dark. That's a very lame dark. Normally spectral works well with dark, but that's actually legitimately lame. I'm disappointed. Let's try a few more. Gray. That's kind of the same. That's disappointing. You can also like do special packages for our download themes, but I don't typically need that. Several companies have their own like palettes and their own like styles, which is a very good starting point if that's up your alley. Theme void if you want to be really minimalistic and artsy. Literally nothing. Gets rid of all text, gets rid of all axes. It's very aesthetic. Now let's get to what I actually do for my ggplot2 data visualizations, which is theme minimal. There we go. It looks similar to what. Wait, did they change that? Oh no, it's just because of the. But it looks similar to what 538 does. It's not the exact same. They do a lot of custom mods, but it gives a sense of what they do. And from that, what else? Another thing is to change the font family. What I typically like to do is download a Google font. Google fonts are free, and with that, it actually works extremely well with visualization in ggplot2. Then we do family. Source Sans Pro is the font I use for all my quote-unquote personal branding. What? Wait, what? Oh, base family rather is the pro. And it changes all the text formatting to Source Sans Pro. I can do like other text. You can do like comics. Want to do a very sarcastic plot? Comic Sans if you wanted to. No. Very kind of a bit of a contrast. Another cool thing is another font family people like to do is condensed fonts. Auto Condensed is a popular one. It's also available on Google Fonts. And there is that. Now, lastly, one of the most important things to do is to do the label your axes, and ggplot2 is extremely easy to do. There are two other ways to do it. You could do like an x or if there's some like parameter like x title, y title. I don't like doing that. I like using labs. So labs, the title would be this the distribution, or rather distribution of number of submissions. New to ggplot2 is adding subtitle, which I for my personal use typically like to do that for data constraints. From this would be from 2005 to 2010, excluding 2006. I'm not letting that go. Oh. And since I'm filtering out the one, do that count. Do the x-axis. The y-axis. And nothing like to do is the caption, which appears in the bottom right of the chart. I usually just do it for citations. So Max Wolf, do an M dash because M dashes are really cool. And there you have it, a pretty robust data visualization without too much lines of code and not too fancy. If you wanted to, you could. I know 538 likes to add a very explicit line at 0. You could do that if you wanted to. Do that. You can do another V line, H line, horizontal line. Y intercept is 0. Got a physical line there, although that's kind of not very necessary. But there you go. That's data visualization. And lastly, to cap it off, I typically if you want to like save this for your own, put on Reddit, put it on your social media. One last step. The last step is to not like use this output directly. Best thing to do is to save the plot to a file, and then use ggsave to print this plot. I will call it PNG. But I'm automatically infer the extension from here, so I'll put PNG. It'll save this plot. We'll save that plot. Then we'll specify the width and the height. A good ratio is always 4:3 for both Twitter usability and general usability across platforms. And by default, it prints at 300 dpi. So the resulting output for a 4x3 will be 1200 pixels by 800 pixels. And that it won't print the console. It also should print as a separate file in the folder. It did. Let's look. It's you can see it's a little different, the output, because the parameters are a little different. It was when that visualization happened, it was wider. Print both for posterity. It's like slight different parameters, and typically text is a little bigger here. But there's an easy fix for that text. Text issue is to change the size of the theme. I think 9 is a good. That'll change how both. There we go. That looks a little more minimalistic. Although I do think some of these texts are kind of in order to like change like the axis theming on top of the theme itself, you can override it using for example, if you want to do a plot subtitle, make that smaller and little faded to de-emphasize it. Plot subtitle is an element text. Lots of size. Usually I do trial and error on that. So because the way size is calculated is kind of weird. It won't be this 9. It'll be like 6 or something. Let's try 5. Then color. You can when specifying colors in R, you can use hex or manual colors. So let's just do gray. Ooh. So I made a mistake. You when adding a thing, you'll want to do a plus there. Right. Oh, that changed the font size dramatically there, but it did de-emphasize it. That's too much. I'm gonna change color. I'm gonna use a hex color, which is it's a hex color I like to use. It's like kind of an off, not quite black. A little faded. Font size significantly. That left me back to where pretty much I was started. A different, lighter color. Oh, that's not too bad. The way I like to design data visualizations is use like larger text, because whenever you post a data visualization online, you're not sure who will read it. If you like post on a mobile site and post like those giant visualizations that the user has to like zoom in a billion times, it's not going to look pretty well. But for this visualization, it's intended for like the high resolution displays, so it'll actually look pretty well when like on using like an iPhone or something like that. That's typically how my data viz process kind of works. Monorable comments, M dashes are cool, but 3M dashes are cooler. I'm curious, a 3M dash, is that like that like a triple M dash? I know there's a big family of M dashes, but I do work for BuzzFeed M dash, and so I'm very familiar with the love of M dashes in formal writing. So that's kind of like that. And we have this visualization. If you want, another thing, but cool thing about R notebooks is that whenever you spoilers, but whenever you create a data visualization, and not save an R notebook, it'll save an HTML file. And this HTML file works like a Jupyter notebook, so you can view it like here. So here's what I posted. Here's what I've done. It's automatically syntax highlighted. You can send this file to anyone; it'll automatically show. That's a really nice thing about working with R and R Studio and R notebooks. All right, it's 1:44 p.m. I guess I've been streaming for about an hour, which I think for a first stream things worked pretty well. So I think I'm gonna stop here, and hopefully got a sense of how I do my data viz in R. Sometimes it's more complicated, sometimes it's less complicated, but I hope you got the sense. And I apologize for the connection issues. I'll see if there's an easier way around that. I wish there was a way to like just have it yell at you when the connection like goes mad. I think there is. I'll do some more research, but I do think I do want to continue this once a week. If you haven't followed me, please do. I see more people have followed me. Thanks a bunch, and thanks for watching. I'm Max Wolf, and if you like this type of work, please support my Patreon. My Patreon links are in the channel description, and I use that for things like working with Google Compute Engine and running like models using like deep learning. I might do more videos and live streams using deep learning for cool things. I'll see how that works, and I'm Max Wolf, and I hope had a good time. See ya.